Okay, I'm back with Jodi Mueller. Last time, Jodi, I spoke with you, was up in Washington, D.C. For the Restoring Freedom event. This is now closer to Christmas time. Can you tell me what's gone on since then?
Yeah, since that was 9/11, and since that time, I had three hearings I was supposed to appear at in the state of Iowa, Dallas County to be exact.
Okay, now you're in Texas right now, so...
I'm in Texas, so it's 720 miles. I would drive up to the hearings, and the judge would delay it on 2 occasions. On the other occasion, my ex made up manufactured conflicts and actually put himself in the hospital for a sore leg to get out of a hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So...
And also on during one of those times, I was protesting by myself in front of the Dallas County Courthouse, and I got a phone call from my attorney who said that he happened to be in the same courthouse, and one of the judges asked why I couldn't see my children, and my attorney told him about my ex alienating the kids and coming up with conflicts just to isolate my kids longer. So he wrote a 2-line court order saying that I could see my children anytime I'm in the state of Iowa, and that my ex was not to interfere. So that very day, I went to his home, and he was in the hospital, but he was able to manipulate my children with a phone call from his hospital room. And I knocked on the door for 4 minutes, 19 seconds with a witness. I always take a witness. And my attorney got called by the opposing counsel and stated I was beating on the door for 30 minutes. Good thing that I recorded it. And I paid about $250 for those email exchanges.
Wow.
And never did see my children. I called a police officer to come out and do a standby so I could ask the kids to go with me just to eat dinner. And it took the police officer 30 minutes to arrive. He brought a policewoman with him. And I asked him to do a standby, just stand by, basically, as a witness in case something should happen. And he said, I'm going to ask the kids personally if they want to go with you. I said, no, don't want you to do that, because when you do that to an alienated child, they're going to say no. And he replied, so are you saying you don't want to see your children? I said, no, I'm not saying that, but I don't want you to go up there with me. I don't want them to be scared or confused and think this court order is fake.
Right.
And I had to drive away.
So tell us all again, I mean, why are you not with your children? What exactly happened?
Okay, my ex manipulated them and coerced them into getting on an airplane in the middle of the night.
Now you have 4 children.
4. He did this to 2 of them.
Okay.
In October of 2013.
Okay.
And then I lost custody of them 4 months later.
And how did you lose custody?
False allegations of abuse.
Okay.
Very simple, and
but now you have 2 children that you were supposedly abusing, but you still had 2 children with you at home.
Right.
Okay.
So I asked, how do I abuse 2 and not the others?
Right.
If they're even seeing abuse,
right,
I should lose them.
Right.
And obviously the courts knew I wasn't, and they just took 2. My
Okay.
ex even on the stand stated that he didn't care about the twins, and said it to his own lawyer as well. The twins and I moved to Texas a few months after that, and we're in Texas for 9 months. And my oldest daughter started writing my twins, and they had not seen each other for a little over 2 years at that point. And started asking them what they wanted for Christmas. We were all excited that maybe we were going to be able to see these older 2 children.
Right.
And I was unaware that the conversations continued until my kids left. But the oldest was helping with the campaign of denigration towards me for no reason. And actually, she was mad at me because I took her door off the hinges when she was behaving very badly. And that turned into abuse.
So,
yeah.
Well, I won't even ask the question.
Yeah. So it turned into
my guess then is that your ex-husband would never do such a thing to make himself look like such a wonderful person.
Yes, he's the savior.
So he would. So discipline or any type of encouraging them to do the right thing is not part of what they're getting from him right now.
Right.
Whereas you, on the other hand, had consequences to. Okay.
Yes, and I'm the one that raised him. He saw our children once every 12 to 18 months by his own accord. I mean, he's a pilot, one, but two, that wasn't important to him.
Right.
And when he did show up, I would actually allow him, he stayed with us on numerous occasions. If he wanted to get a hotel, I actually purchased all the groceries and filled the refrigerator.
So that he would spend time with the children.
Right, right.
So then the other two. Now, I mean, how long has it been? What happened there? Because you've got the two that are now gone. Tell me a little bit more details about that.
Okay, so my twin daughters and I went on a spring break in Tennessee, from Texas to Tennessee to see a friend. And my friend had said something horrible to my kids and her own child. And actually, she was taking prednisone, been on it for quite some time, and it triggered, some people can't handle that. And
Right.
so she was going through that. I asked the kids to pack their bags. They wouldn't do it. And I asked them at least 14 times. They wouldn't do it. I got angry and yelled at them to do what I asked them to do. And then I took their phones away for not doing what I asked. And that's how I punished them, was take away their phones, first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were upset with me, but we left from Tennessee. As I was leaving, my so-called Tennessee friend, before I left, actually, she called the police, and I was getting gas, and I came back, to take my children back to Texas, and the policeman asked why I abused my children, and he had some story that was I was pulling them down the stairs by their hair, and that I suddenly had rope in my trunk, and I didn't even pack the trunk, so I don't know what he's talking about. I popped the trunk, let him look, and I said, I don't know where this is coming from. He explained to me what abuse was. I explained to him, yes, I know what that is, and he explained to my children, if mom doesn't leave a mark on you for X amount, I didn't even touch them.
You took the phone.
Took their phone. All I did when one of them was looking at her phone like teenagers do, I went like this and I said, look at me. And the Robert De Niro thing, that's what lost my kids. So, but we took off from Tennessee, and within 10 minutes, my friend in Maryville, Tennessee, she sent me a text and she says, I will make sure, it's going to be my personal vendetta, that you never see your children again. I pulled the car over at that time, started crying, I'm not a crier usually, and said, I think you're going to be gone. I think she's going to contact your dad. The twins said, well, why would she do that? We don't even know our dad's number. He doesn't call us. He doesn't care about us anyway. And one daughter that was in the back, I heard her mumble, he is our dad. I turned around and I was shocked by the look on her face. And right then I knew within a week they would be gone. And a friend of mine in Tennessee contacted people through Facebook, got their dad's number, and made up this whole embellished story, all simply because I told the police officer that my friend had stated in front of my children, their own, that she was going to kill us all. So she was upset with me that I said what she
And she
had
did
done.
say that she was going to kill you.
Yes. So my kids are mixing up what she said to what I did with the phones, and now the story is that
You threatened to kill him.
I threatened to kill him. I had rope, and now when I got to the stand, November 16th, the story is now embellished that I bought 2 body bags.
I was going to ask you if you where the body bags were. Evidently, you did.
I said, I don't even know where you would buy that, but yeah. And so, anyway, like I said, they took off. PTA lady drove them to the airport in the middle of the night.
So wait a minute, a PTA lady, it sounds to them like she kidnapped them? Is that what you're saying?
I would say she enticed them
Okay.
or harbored a runaway. And I'm primary custodial parent. Why wouldn't she ask me if she could take my children? I called my children. We came back from Tennessee and we were back for 4 days. We went to a birthday party during that time for a friend, and everything was fine. I was picking up my kids from school like normal, dropping them off at school normal. They seemed happy. On Wednesday, March 18th, they contacted a crisis counselor at their school and went in and gave false allegations to her because they were still upset they didn't have their phones because I grounded them for a week. Okay, now it had only been 3 days at this point.
Well, you actually sound like a responsible parent, but I won't.
Yeah,
You know.
so,
But if you have body bags, you know.
yeah, I don't get it. But so she talked to the crisis counselor. They said I was abusive and drug them down the stairs by their hair. None of this happened. And then Texas CPS got involved. So Texas CPS shows up at the school, unbeknownst to me, and the girls tell the CPS worker that mom's bipolar, that mom went to marriage counseling with their father many years ago, and the marriage counselor diagnosed mom as bipolar and gave her prescriptions to help with the symptoms of being bipolar.
Okay, so wait, a marriage counselor is prescribing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
Was this a PhD? Was it a doctor?
No, she was a marriage counselor, just a licensed social worker. That's all.
Okay.
Simple. All.
This is nuts.
So the CPS, well, the following day comes, and I come home from work, and my children are missing. 2 a.m. I got off from work, went upstairs to kiss them goodnight like usual, and there's nobody there. So I'm in panic mode. I'm traumatized. Not even thinking they would go to the dad's because they had no bond with him.
Right.
Not because of me. Once, I don't want
He just
people to
wasn't.
question that. But, and I looked through the closets, under the beds. I was just panicked, and I was calling 911 at the same time. Police officer shows up, and I was all ready to tell him where I thought they were because I talked to my girls at 6:30 that night. I called them twice a night during work, once to check on their homework, and once to tell them goodnight. When I called to check on their homework, they said they were in the car with this PTA lady and her daughter that was kind of their friend, and she had taken them a quick trip for a snack. So I said, oh, well, you're really supposed to tell me before you get in a car with somebody and ask me if that's okay. I don't know why this mother didn't call me. And, I knew my girls were kind of upset.
How old were your girls at the
missing their
time?
Friends. 15.
15?
They had just turned 15, like 3 weeks prior.
Okay, so they're
Barely 15. And so I just kind of blew it off. I said, oh, well, I'm not going to argue. And told them, they asked me where I was going. I said, going to get dinner. I'll call you later. My daughter called me 10 minutes later and said, did you say you were picking us up dinner? And I thought this was odd. I've never picked them up dinner while I'm at work. I'm literally 20 minutes away and I have a 30-minute lunch. So I went inside and told my coworker, I think my girls are going to the airport. I just have a weird feeling, but I never acted on it. I just thought, no, surely they wouldn't do that. And a few hours later, I get home and find out they did. So the PTA lady helped them get to the DFW airport.
So the PTA lady is from which school district?
Birdville. Birdville High School.
You want to name her name?
Yeah, Sharon Rhodes Lane.
So basically, it sounds to me, and I mean, I'm really not a legal expert or anything like that, but it almost sounds to me like it was a form of kidnapping.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Now.
And she's on the PTA.
She's on the PTA. She's the vice president of the PTA for Birdville High School.
Currently?
I looked, and now it doesn't show her name, so
Okay.
I think she left or maybe was told to leave. I'm not sure. I asked the principal to remove her. But since they're volunteers, he couldn't do anything.
Right.
But I've asked the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office to file charges on her. They won't do it.
Okay.
They said the dad told her to do it. Well, the dad's never met this lady. So what happened when the police officer came, he said, where do you know where they were last? And I said, with this person. And he says, oh, that's interesting because your neighbor saw him cross a certain street. I said, well, that's where she lives. And he said they went with all sorts of suitcases, stuffed animals and everything, which isn't normal for a 15-year-old to be carrying on a school night.
Yeah. Well, so they were so it may have been a runaway situation, which nevertheless, it's. Yeah. I mean, no matter how you look at it.
Right.
Just. So how long has it?
And the runaway letter that we found later, he wouldn't file Amber Alert because we found a runaway letter an hour later in the house. And he said, oh, we can't file an Amber Alert now. And I said, well, this doesn't even look like my children's, it's their writing, but it's not their verbiage.
Right.
And it said, we know you're going to be mad, Mom, we love you, but we think it's in our best interest to live with Dad, Kaylin, and Ian. Well, children that just turned 15 don't use that verbiage.
Yeah.
And if you line up their runaway letter with my older two children's text from 3 years ago, they're identical. So
Wow.
it's completely coached.
Wow.
So the following day, of course, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep one bit. 8 o'clock in the morning, CPS shows up. And he explains to me about I'm bipolar now. So I said, oh, come on in. Okay, which I tell everyone now, don't let them in. You don't have to let them in. Do not let them in. I let him in, and, it's fine, but he came in, sat down. I had him look in my cupboards. He said, the children say you don't feed them at night. And I said, well, that's partially true because I work at night. However, I feed them at 3:30 after they get off school, and then they're responsible for a snack later. And we eat a regular dinner, just like
Right.
other people do at 6 o'clock. We're eating at 3:30.
Right.
So then he goes into the kids said a marriage counselor said you're bipolar, she diagnosed you, she gave you prescriptions, and then you flushed them down the stool and said you weren't taking them. I said, oh, that's interesting because marriage counselors can't diagnose, and I'm wondering why you would not know that as a CPS worker. And now I've realized why CPS is taking children, because you're uneducated. And he
That
says,
went over
oh.
really well.
So, yeah. So then I said, and also, they don't diagnose people. Marriage counselors don't. I mean, they may tell you, I think this, you should go here. And I said, why don't I have them pull up the records? I said, oh, wait a minute. It might be hard to get those records because it was a very long time ago. And I said, and I'm wondering now why these children of mine even know that. Because we went while I was pregnant with them in November 1999. And I said, read their birthdays to me. He said, February 2000. So how did they know? Because my twins' father, my 4 children's father, left when they were 5 weeks old. I would never tell my children I went to marriage counseling and try to work it out. Some people would, but if he left when they were 5 weeks old, that would make my children, I felt, think that their dad left because of them.
Right.
But he really left because he had a flight attendant girlfriend, I believe, and our marital assets were going to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.